Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is, I guess, a bonus video because the last video was so long. It's video 2.5 of this series of 7 videos. The last one was on fan fiction. This one is also on fan fiction, but it is an excerpt from my fan fiction that I wrote, but near the end. So you can see the improvement that I have made, or that I made between when I first started this fan fiction and like 5 years later when I was writing my fan fiction. The first one was cringy. I haven't looked at this part in a long time, so I'm hoping it's less cringy, but I cannot be sure. We'll see how it goes. But I'm sure it'll be fine. And let's just get into this, I guess. Okay, so to put this part, or this excerpt into context, again, like I mentioned in my video before, this is stuff that takes place after book 6 in the Harry Potter world, so Half-Blood Prince leading through into Deathly Hallows. And it's spoiler alert, so if you haven't watched the movies or if you haven't read the books, you probably should stop now because this is I'm about to say a really big spoiler if you haven't seen it, so just go away. Just go away, because the rest of this, at least the next couple minutes, are going to be spoiler alert. Probably the rest, I don't know, I haven't read it, but spoiler alert. So, context. This is after Snape has killed Dumbledore, and Jade, who is my main character, Jade Summers, has come back to the Malfoy Manor in the aftermath of Snape and Draco disappearing. If you didn't watch the last video 2, you might want to go back there so you'll know a little bit more about this character, but basically Jade Summers is my other character that I've inserted into this Harry Potter fanfiction. It is a Draco Malfoy / OC fanfiction, and Jade and Draco arranged marriage engagement thing. Not married yet, but they're arranged to be married. I think that's all you really need to know, other than the fact that she, after the engagement, moved into the Malfoy Manor, not staying with Draco, but like staying across the hall from him so they could get to know each other before they were forced to get married. So after Dumbledore dies, everybody at the school kind of hates her because it's her future husband's fault. They're wondering if she was involved, blah, 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 blah. And so her parents decide to pull her out of school and bring her back to the Malfoy Manor so she can be with Narcissa. I don't know if I'm saying that right or wrong. I'm sorry. So, with that, let's jump into this. It's better than the last part. That's all I can say. I woke up in the morning confused and startled as my door burst open, revealing a group of ministry wizards. What? No, wait, sorry. She said it groggily. What? I said groggily, looking up. Then I remembered my dream from the other night and looked over, expecting to see Draco. But he wasn't there. She had a dream that Draco had come back. He's still on the run at this point, but she had a dream that he had come back and was sleeping in the bed next to her, and then ministry wizards broke in. But he wasn't there. I glanced back over to the wizards and saw Slade at their forefront headed towards me. Okay, this is so hard because it's like so much later in my fanfiction. It's not like the very first thing. So Slade is an Auror. He had a brother named Brendan, I think, who ended up getting killed by Death Eaters. And he thinks that Jade didn't have a chance getting into the life she's into, and so he's been trying to save her for the last little bit in the story. But now things might be changing a little bit. I screamed, but I didn't wake up. It wasn't a dream this time. Just then, Narcissa flew into the room, in her night clothes, brandishing her wand. It was then that it hit me that this wasn't a reoccurring nightmare. Get out, get out, get out, Narcissa yelled, threatening the ministry wizards. I thought I told you not to come by here again last time you were here. I told you I don't know where Lucius is, nor do I know where Draco is, so get out. Slade stopped advancing towards me and turned to face Narcissa, pulling out a sheet of parchment from his pocket. We have orders directly from the Minister of Magic himself to come here and detain Jade Summers for her involvement in the murder of Elvis Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. He handed the parchment to Narcissa and then turned back to me. I watched as Narcissa read the letter and collapsed on the floor. No one bothered to help her. I wanted to go over to her to help her, to tell her everything was okay, but I was in shock and I couldn't move. Slade walked around the bed to the side I had tried to escape from and stopped at my side. You heard me, Miss Summers, he said formally. They got pretty close for various reasons, so him calling her Miss Summers is like a slap in the face. You are under arrest as an accomplice to murder. I was completely in shock. I couldn't process it, and it was just too much to take in. I didn't resist as Slade pulled me out of the bed and clasped shackles on my wrist. Nor did I try to fight him pushing me towards the door. It wasn't that I was going voluntarily, I just couldn't process everything that was going on. Accio Jade's wand, Slade said as we made our way towards the door. My wand flew off the bedside table and into his hand. I tried to think of what the last spell I cast was, but I couldn't remember. As we walked past Narcissa, my heart broke. There she was, in a heap on the floor, sobbing as she watched the last person in her life be dragged away. She looked up and made eye contact with me, and something snapped in both of us. No, she said, climbing weakly to her feet. You will not take her away. You have no right. We do, Slade said. In fact, we have a responsibility to do so. No, you don't, Narcissa yelled, lunging towards him, not even bothering to use her wand. However, the Ministry wizards were much faster than she, and they were able to get a grip on her to subdue her before she got too close. I watched her struggle for a few moments and then give up, defeated. I couldn't handle it. No, I yelled, trying to break free from Slade's grasp. I was moderately successful as he hadn't been holding me tight, but he quickly recovered and grabbed me before I was able to get more than a few feet away. No, I yelled again. Let me go, let me go, let me go. No, Slade said simply, and pushed me out the door, having no problems controlling my thrashing. As we went through the halls, I could hear Narcissa yelling again, but her cries became quieter as the distance between us lengthened. As we approached the front door, I gave up fighting. I had tired myself out, and I knew from past experience that there was no way I could get away from Slade. I also assumed he wouldn't hesitate to use magic to keep me subdued. This is so much more intense than the other part, and I would say a lot better written. I think that was correct English. Gotta scroll down. We walked through the front door, and in the driveway were two black cars, possibly the same ones that had come for Draco and I at Diagon Alley. This is not her first brush with the Ministry law. And the poor girl's only like 16. So sad. I winced as I walked across the gravel driveway in my bare feet, but I refused to let Slade see the pain I was in. He shoved me in the back seat, and as soon as I read it myself, I could tell that it was the same car I had been in before, because the back of it was enlarged to hold more people than usual. Might not actually be the same car there, Jade. Like, it's magic. They can do that to other cars, but we'll let it go. Slade climbed in next and sat on the seat across from me, followed by two other men, one sitting on each side of me. It's been a while, Slade said as the car started to move. Honestly, I think it's only been like 2 weeks, maybe, story time between the time that she last sees him and this time. If even that. I ignored him and looked out the window, past the man on my left. I noticed the sky was just barely beginning to brighten, and I wondered how early it was and why they had decided to come so early. If they were watching the house, they would have known when I came and went, which like is never. I sighed and returned my gaze to the car, only to be looking at Slade. Did you miss me? He asked. We never got to say goodbye. I could tell he was feeling pretty smug about himself. He'd managed to legally capture me, and I wasn't sure what he planned. For all I knew, it hadn't been his idea, and he had actually been sent by the Minister of Magic. But I still feel like this had been Slade's doing. He's been trying to like save her ever since he met her. Like, I don't think you want to be a Death Eater. I don't think you want to be part of this family. Come to me and I'll save you. But she's scared. No, I didn't miss you, I said, finally addressing him. What do you want? I want justice. I didn't do anything. That's for the courts to decide, he stated. The corrupt ministry courts that obviously have ulterior motives, I asked bitterly. Even if it's corrupt, it's better than the rules you live by. He's mad. He's mad at her. Let me go, I said again, but with more anger. Even if I wanted to, which I don't, he pointed out, I can't. This is a direct order from the Minister of Magic himself. See, people don't take too kindly to murderers. I didn't kill anyone. If you were involved, you may as well have, he said. I turned away again and chose to ignore him. He clearly wasn't going to listen to me. Therefore, it was not worth my time to talk to him. So the reason that she's getting arrested is because the night that Draco was supposed to murder Dumbledore, he asked Jade to distract Slade. Yes, their names rhyme, and that was not intentional. Because he was in Hogwarts as extra security. And so she did. And so when the commotion started, Slade was like, Jade, go back to your common room. And she didn't because she wanted to see what was going on. And then when Slade came back down after Draco and Snape ran out, he saw Jade and click, 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 put a couple things together. So now he's like, maybe you do want to be evil. I really did enjoy writing the latter part of this story. And I don't know where I was. Let's just start there again. If you were involved, you might as well have, he said. I turned away again and chose to ignore him. He clearly wasn't going to listen to me, therefore it's not worth my time to talk to him. You can ignore me now, he said, but you're going to have to talk eventually. I knew he was right. It seemed like there was no way I was going to get out of this now. With Draco missing, I knew that he was probably the person that the Malfoys would most... I can't read. Let's try that sentence again. With Draco missing, I knew that he was probably the person that the Malfoys would be most concerned about. And even if they thought to get me out, I didn't think the Ministry would make it easy on them. Not if they actually thought I had been involved in Dumbledore's death. And I had been. That was the worst part. They had every right to arrest me, bring me in for questioning, and put me on trial. It says trail. I had helped Draco out, and I had also kept quiet about what he was doing. If they discovered the truth, which they clearly already suspected, there'd be nothing I could do about it. I sighed and sat back against the seat. Feeling guilty? Slade asked, noticing my discomfort. Again, I ignored him, as it would do me no good to talk to him, at least not now. After what seemed like forever, the car finally pulled to a stop. I opened my eyes and looked around. We were at the same place they'd taken Draco and I at Christmas break. It was all too familiar, and I was concerned that it was all going to end up the same way, but this time without the rescue. Come on, get out, Jade said, gesturing for me to follow one of the men out the door to my right. I followed his directions, and soon we were walking towards the building and the set of large gray doors, which I knew led into the Ministry's back halls. We entered, and soon we were walking down the long corridor. And soon we were walking down the long corridor, painted in the drab shade of gray, which I remembered all too well from my last visit. I expected to be led into the same room as last time, so Slade could interrogate me. But to my shock, we walked right past and continued on. After a while, my feet started getting cold from walking down the long corridor, but again, I didn't say anything. Slade may have been nice to me while we were at Hogwarts, but I didn't expect him to extend the same courtesy here under these conditions. Drama. We walked for what seemed like forever until we came to the end of the corridor where we entered a lift. I was starting to feel more stressed because I felt like the further we went into the building, the less likely I was going to get away. We went down a few floors and then exited the lift into a stark white corridor. I just can't read sometimes, okay guys? We walked down it for a while and I started to notice that the solid walls were giving way to bars. I looked to my left. Sure enough, there were multiple cells with 3 solid walls and 1 wall of bars across the front. I looked away from them, hoping against hope that I wasn't going to end up there. We continued to walk past them and through a secure set of doors. On the other side, we walked past more cells before we finally came to a halt in front of one with an open door. Like, they are putting her so deep in the Ministry, ain't nobody gonna find her. Welcome home, Slade said with a smirk. I looked at him in shock. I couldn't believe he was actually going to put me in a cell. "Come on," he said, and gently nudged me forward. I took a slow step forward, my anxiety peaking, and the gravity of the situation seemed to increase. I walked in all the way with a little prodding from Slade, and then turned back to face him. He stepped forward in the cell as well and lifted my wrist so he could unfasten the shackles. "I tried to stop this," he whispered. He was standing so close that the other wizards who were outside the cell wouldn't be able to hear. "I tried to save you." "You didn't try hard enough then," I shot back, trying to move away from him. But he used the shackles and pulled me closer. "We didn't try hard enough?" he asked, his voice rising as he got both of the shackles off. "My brother died trying to save you, so you wouldn't end up here." Oh, he's so mad. "Well, he didn't do a very good job and was stupid enough to get himself killed," I spat at him. "And you didn't see him that night. He wasn't there to save me." This is another very stressful night of my story. "Don't talk about my brother like that," he said, and then did something I would have never expected him to do. He stepped back and slapped me across the face. As I was recoiling from the shock and pain, he stepped to the cell and locked the door. "I hope you rot in here," he said angrily, and turned and walked off with the other wizards following after him. I stood there and watched them go, holding my stinging face. When I heard the hallway door clang shut, I threw myself onto the bed and let my tears flow. So that's the end of that excerpt. I feel like it was a huge improvement in my writing style from the very beginning to the end. And I think I actually kind of, maybe not like very much planning. That was so much bad English, so much bad English. Maybe I didn't plan it super well, but I feel like I actually like was trying to hit different points in the later part, the latter part of my fanfic. So if you enjoyed my lovely embarrassing fan fiction and you want to see more, I mean, if there's enough interest, I will read 408 Harry Potter fanfiction pages on my channel. I am down to do that. But you'll have to let me know with comments and pressing that like button. I know you all want to see what happens. Except hilariously, because I decided to reboot my story and I've decided to change how it ends, so the ending that I currently have is not going to happen, so, but, you know, it's what it is right now. So yeah, let me know, hit those like buttons, come back tomorrow for another video in my lead up to National Novel Writing Month, where I'm going to talk about my retirement. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks for listening to me ramble about my Harry Potter fan fiction today. I loved my Harry Potter fan fiction. As much as the beginning part was terrible, I really just loved the experience, and I loved going through it, and I loved learning how to write and improve my writing style. So no regrets, but some regrets. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for the next video in the series.